Hello everybody, it's Brian for GadgetUnit.com, and in this video it's time for episode 73 of my question and answer series. Pretty decent amount of questions this week, so starting at the bottom with Live Tech Australia, Consumer Electronics and Graphics Design with Daniel Elias. You should really shorten that a little bit if you can, assuming Google Plus allows you to do that. Anyway, if you could rename any version of Android, past, present, or future, what would you name it and why? I wouldn't even give them names like Kit Kat and Jelly Bean. I would just leave it the version number because, at least for me, I could remember different features and different designs of different versions of Android based off of their version number. There's 2.0, 3.0 is for tablets, and then you get into 4. To me, the names further confuse things. You have the version number as well as a name rather than just a name or version number. Of course, everything has a version number, so you can't really stick with just names if that makes any sense. From Cabalan T, your opinion on the best app store, or excuse me, the best app in the App Store. I don't really have I guess at the moment that would be the new Tweetbot because it's simply the best Twitter client out there, hands down. No, not even any competition from anybody else. It's fast. It has pretty much every feature you could think of. It looks good, and that's pretty much it. Also from the same person, do you think that the Nexus 7 is worth the price? As I mentioned in my little mini review, it is definitely worth the price. Or do you think I should save up for another 7-inch tablet? If so, which would you prefer? You should just get the Nexus 7. If you're going to spend money on a product, get what's good so that if you get something cheap, you won't regret your purchase. So I think that the Nexus 7 is definitely the one to get. It's priced right, it's fast, it has all the features you can think of mostly, and it's just a great tablet. So you really cannot go wrong with picking up the Nexus 7 if that's an option for you. Also from Cabalan T, did you buy Tweetbot again for Tweetbot 3? Well, yes I did. Do you think that it is worth it that we had to buy it again? I would think so. I picked up the original Tweetbot for just 99 cents, so it really wasn't too big of a deal for me to have to pay for Tweetbot again because there are so many improvements, so many design changes to make it worth the price. From Cabalan T, yet again, do you think a tempered glass screen protector would be better than an anti-glare screen protector? To answer that, you can't really compare the two because they're two completely different types of screen protectors with two different types of goals for two different types of people. Is there a screen protector that doesn't show fingerprints but is also considered tempered glass? Unfortunately, no. There is not a single screen protector out there that is not 100% smudge or fingerprint proof, unfortunately. But really, these are two different types of screen protectors. One reduces fingerprints and glare, most importantly, reduces glare, hence the name. A tempered glass screen protector is just a fancier screen protector that's thicker, more expensive, harder to install, harder to remove. To me, buying a pack of 50 protection films for the price of one tempered glass screen protector is a much better way to go because they'll last you longer, that's for sure. Because most tempered glass screen protectors I've used, they say they're really strong, but really they aren't. So ultimately, they aren't worth the price to me. Also from Cabalan T, what colored bumper do you think would look best on a black iPhone 4S other than white, because that seems like it would get dirty real fast? And I would have to agree, the white ones definitely do change colors after time. So pretty much any color other than black and white would be a choice for me. I like green. I got the green one a long time ago when I first got my iPhone 4 back in the day, and to me green looks really nice. Orange isn't too bad. The pink one honestly doesn't look too bad either. The blue one is probably what I would stay away from, but that's just my choice. Black would match up fairly well, so for me, if I were to pick this, I would pick between the green and the black one. Of course, obviously your choice might vary. Also from Cabalan T, lastly, doesn't it bug you that the Switch Easy Eclipse lock button is not covered? It makes me so mad considering that it could have been like the home buttons where you get excellent feedback. And let me find it. Here is my review a long time ago, just over, or not quite 2 years ago, on the Switch Easy Eclipse, and somewhere right here you definitely could see that the power button is not covered while the volume buttons are. It was a little annoying at the time. Of course, this is something you get used to very quickly because of course, you're constantly pushing the power button. So that's something you get used to very early on. So it wasn't really a problem for me. From Arturo Martinez, which phone by Google seems to be better, the Nexus 5 or the Motorola X? Well, I just wanted to mention that if you guys haven't been following me on Twitter, I did purchase a white 16 gig Nexus 5, which won't be here for quite a while. If I had to choose between the Nexus 5 and the Moto X, well, honestly, in my opinion, there's just no competition because I could get to the bottom here. Here we go, the tech specs page. That's what I'm looking for. In terms of specs and price, the Nexus 5 just blows the Moto X out of the water. The display is larger, much better resolution, much better processor, and everything else that can go along with it. For me, the Moto X, it's cool how you can customize it and things, but it's really not that attractive of a device, especially the white one. This to me is just dirt ugly. So if you had to choose between the two, I would definitely say the Nexus 5. And of course, it's a Nexus device, which means that it's going to be getting the Android software updates before pretty much every other device. So that is my answer to your question. From Sakuraji Roku Rauta, so I'm torn between the LG G2 and the Nexus 5. They're about the same price here. And do you think that perhaps Google would make the Google Play hardware store available everywhere? I would hope that they would. I'm trying to find the Google Play Store link without actually having to open up a new tab. And here we go. So it is a little bit disappointing that the Google Play hardware store is not available to everybody, but that's just the way it is, unfortunately. But back to your question, between the Nexus 5 and the LG G2, I think that it comes down to which phone you're more comfortable with holding. The G2 is obviously gigantic. Let me get the exact screen size. Display 5.2 inches, so it's definitely a larger display, which means the actual body of the phone itself is going to be even larger than the Nexus 5. The awkward placement of the volume buttons and the I don't know if this is the power button or a dedicated camera key. If that is the power button, then I do think that this entire button layout is a little bit awkward. Of course, that's something you'll probably get used to fairly quickly should you actually decide to buy this. In terms of specs, it's a fast phone. There's nothing wrong there. So, since they're the same price, I would have to say that you would actually have to hold the two and play with both of them in your hands before actually picking one, because I can't really give you a straight answer because they're both great phones. They both look good. I would probably lean more towards the Nexus 5 for the simple fact that this runs stock Android rather than LG's interface. So yeah, just go with the Nexus 5. That's the easier answer, I think. It still looks good. It's plenty fast. It's going to get the latest Android software updates, as I mentioned earlier. So I would actually go for the Nexus 5 over the LG G2. From Jared, how do you get a Windows 7 ISO image? Also, is Windows 7 Home Premium 64-bit suited for gaming? Pretty much any Home Premium version of Windows is just fine for gaming. You don't want to go for the basic version of Windows just because. In regards to the ISO image, if you have a legitimate key for Windows that you purchased or got from a friend somewhere or whatever, and you know it's legitimate, then there's probably no problem with just going to a torrent website and downloading an ISO image that way and inputting your key later. From Banana Man Media, Apple released the iPhone 5C as a mid-tier device in place of the iPhone 5. What do you think Apple will do when the next generations roll around? Release an iPhone 6C and keep it for both generations of the 6, 6, and 6S? Or maybe release a completely different device to replace the iPhone 5C, such as a 6X. Okay, that would be a little bit, I don't know. I can imagine they would run out of letters at some point. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I love your videos and keep up the good work. So, my prediction, off the top of my head, would be that they will go ahead and keep the iPhone 5C next year and just come out with the iPhone 6 with, of course, Touch ID, dual LED flash, and things like that. I don't think that they're going to get rid of the iPhone 5C just yet because it's still a good device. It's the latest design. It's newer than the 5S because the 5S's design we saw last year. So the 5C ultimately has a newer design, so I think that they will keep the 5C around and just introduce a new device thereafter. They're not going to keep the 5S, I don't think. They could just take whatever they put into that and put it into the iPhone 6, which hopefully has a larger display. So that would be my predictions on that. From Caplan T, what are some tech channels you watch on YouTube? I watch not a lot. There's Linus Tech Tips. I don't watch all of his videos. Some of them are long. Some of them I don't really have too much interest in. CNET, subscribe to them, of course, because I have probably the most respect for CNET and what they do in regards to journalism and videos and things. SW Webmaster, they don't post too much. Gadget Gal 38. When it comes to individual product reviews and things like that, I typically like to stick with some of these smaller YouTubers because these are the people who deserve more support than those who are already big. So Gadget Gal 38, Megan Allen, myself, JP Tech 17. He's getting kind of big though, but his content is still just fine. And that's pretty much it. Live Tech Australia, Metagamers is getting big and things like that. So most of these accounts don't really post too many videos, but that's pretty much the people I subscribe to and why. From Arturo Martinez, is there any updated information about the Forever phone by Motorola that uses phone blocks? So he's referring to this sort of modular phone that you can create yourself with different types of hardware and things. I think that it's an interesting design. It's an interesting concept. We'll just have to see how well it works. I wouldn't mind trying it out. I mean, I don't have to have the fastest phone. I just want something with a nice large display and good battery life. So I don't have to get the fastest processor in a phone or the fastest Wi-Fi and things like that. So I think it's a good idea. I don't think there's been any newer information about it, so I can't really comment on that. Lastly, from Christopher Gray, I live in the UK. I want to download and watch The Walking Dead Season 4, which is currently only available in the US iTunes Store. Would it be possible for me to download a US copy onto my UK iTunes account? If it is, do you know if there's any issues regarding doing that? I imagine you could open up an iTunes account and give it your credit card information, but then you would have to have a US address, I think, so I don't think that would work. The easiest thing to do in this situation would be to just torrent the show. I mean, you're willing to pay for it, but it's not offered where you are, so you have no choice but to just torrent it online. So that's pretty much your only option, unless you could find some other sort of video store that is offered in the UK where you could purchase it there. And that's it with episode 73, my question and answer series. It was a bit of a long one, but that's just fine. So tune in next week for episode 74. If you have any questions that you would like me to try and answer, leave those down below in the comments area. And about the comments area, people have been complaining about Google Plus integration with YouTube, and I really don't know why, because I enabled Google Plus integration finally, and visually, there's no difference between the old interface and the new interface. You could still thumbs up and thumbs down comments. You could still reply to them. It's easier for moderation. Everything seems pretty much the same, so I don't really understand why people are complaining about it too much. But that's it with this video, and I'll talk to you guys in a couple of days.